the burnout just happens sooner. And I feel like in teaching, it unfortunately gets normalized that you're going to have burnout and you're going to be done by the end of the year. And I wish I could like explain it better to people who are sitting there like, what exactly did you feel? But I could just tell way earlier in the year that I had so much less in the tank than I normally do.
Yeah.
And I knew by the end of the year, I was like, I don't know how I'm even going to make it to the end of the year.
I'm Lisa Harding, ex-EdTech CEO turned certified teacher career coach. It wasn't all that long ago that I was recruiting, interviewing, and hiring teachers for roles in corporate America. Teachers that ended up being some of my all-time best employees. Fast forward through my own career transition, where I left my role as CEO to become a stay-at-home mom, I now work with and empower teachers to transform their lives by turning their once distant career dreams into realities. In this podcast, I give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're a burnt-out teacher or simply need a change and you're looking to create a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started.
All right, everyone. This is the moment that we have been waiting for. We get to chat with Samantha about her journey. So, Samantha, it is so good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So as you can see, this session is titled From Teacher to L&D Training Specialist. So for people who are wondering, L&D stands for Learning and Development. And what's great is learning and development is a great field for former teachers. They love hiring former teachers. And so Samantha is going to give you a lot of great tips and tricks on that field. But as I mentioned, what's another really cool thing about Samantha, she also is a former member of the Academy and used the Academy to help her find her next career. So she's going to give us both her story of how she transitioned, but then also what in the Academy she found most useful to help her get to that next step. So Samantha, to dive in, can you just start by telling us a bit about, one, who you are, what you did when you were in the classroom, and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so my name is Samantha Wade. I was a middle school teacher for 8 years. I taught language arts, social studies, and I also was an avid teacher as well. I'm from Oregon and I've taught here and lived here my whole life. And I loved being a teacher. But my burnout was really strong and I was also very miserable. So it was just both sides of it.
And knowing that you were in that place of just like deep burnout and knowing that you needed that next step, can you give us a little sneak preview on how your life is different now that you have left the classroom?
Yeah, so my current role, I'm a training specialist in L&D at a really large nonprofit here in Portland, Oregon. And I love it. I have so much more flexibility, and my ultimate life goal in my career transition was to really improve my work-life balance. I was someone who would wake up in the middle of the night and think about work, just never have time off in my head. And it was really impacting my life. I have a 3-year-old, and I think that was kind of the wake-up call I needed to say, hey, I'm not bringing my best self home. I'm killing it in the classroom, and I'm so patient with all my students, but I don't have that same, energy and patience when I get home. So now I work hybrid. I can go into the office 2 to 3 times a week. I have a lot of control and power over that as well. So it's great.
Yeah, if you are sitting at home and just hearing some of those buzzwords teachers love, like flexibility, like hybrid work. Like I remember what it felt like to be sitting there like, wow, what a dream that would be. And Samantha, you saying like waking up in the middle of the night thinking about teaching, like I literally would wake up and be like, oh, that's a misconception that they had about math today. Like I'll hammer that one tomorrow. Like I feel that. So if you're also sitting there like, oh, that sounds like me, like you are not alone. Like this is, I felt those same things of like, you felt that burnout and you knew deep in your soul, like, I know you mentioned me, like you love teaching. Like I love teaching too, but at some point you get to a place where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And the way I looked at it was, if my bucket's not full, how am I going to go fill everyone else's bucket? And as you said, when you have a family at home, how are you going to be even able to fill the bucket of your family members when you get home at the end of the day, once you're depleted?
Yeah. So. And I just knew that my burnout was different. I could feel it really deep. It was different than that, February having to get to spring break burnout, or the end of the year, those last few weeks where, you're enjoying the celebrating with students, but you're running on empty in the tank and you're just ready for break. It was really different. And I was just every day dreading work.
Yeah. I feel like it was the same thing where it's the burnout just happens sooner. And I feel like in teaching, it unfortunately gets normalized that you're going to have burnout and you're going to be done by the end of the year. But like you said, it feels like a different type of burnout. And I wish I could like explain it better to people who are sitting there like, what exactly did you feel? But I could just tell way earlier in the year that I had so much less in the tank than I normally do.
Yeah.
And I knew by the end of the year, I was like, I don't know how I'm even going to make it to the end of the year. Like normally I'm like, all right, next break. But when I'm like fighting day by day and it's only October, like
Yeah.
and it's time to make a change. So, but I also know that decision can be really hard. Like, did you feel any type of guilt, or how did you feel when you realized you had to leave teaching? Was that an easy decision to make?
It was really hard. I feel like even after I did, people at my school were like, "Are you sure?" And, asking me that. And when I sat down with my principal, she was honestly really shocked that I was leaving when I handed in my resignation. Like I was a teacher who volunteered for everything. I was my PLC leader. I volunteered to, work at the district level doing curriculum review. Like I was involved so much. So people were kind of surprised, like deep down, kind of how I was actually feeling. So that was hard. And I felt like, especially when I was going to get a new job, like all I knew was like, I just wanted to treat myself better, and have that through. But like, until I got a new job and felt comfortable, like I still really felt like that. And it was so hard that, that transition, it's a really hard time. And I think it's okay to expect that to happen. And I felt like I was trying to be very positive, but there was times where I was very, very hard on myself too.
Yeah, and it's easy to fall in that trap. And like you said, it sounds like you had a lot of influence around you that made you almost second guess your wanting to leave. And I think especially in this climate, it's normal because we're in a teacher shortage, and more teachers leaving is making it harder on schools. But I know I felt that same type of guilt of like, you feel like you need to do it for someone else, but at some point you just have to put yourself first and be like, I have to make this decision for me. So I would like to also say, like, I'm so glad you made that decision for you because it is so important, but I recognize that it's not easy. So also for everyone out there, no matter where you are in this process, if you're like, I've made the decision and I want to leave, or you're still toying with that idea, I want you to know if you made the decision, like, congratulations, that is step one. And that is a hard barrier to overcome, to just decide that you are making that choice for yourself. Teachers are selfless people. We don't typically do things for ourselves. So I know it's not easy to view things that way. If you're someone who's still toying with the idea, I want you to know it is a difficult decision, and you should take your time and you should think about it. But know that you're gonna have those feelings of conflicted, of going back and forth the entire time. So it's important for yourself, as they always tell you, like, remember your why. Also remember your why for leaving. Like, if you want to leave and that's the best choice for you, make that decision. That's okay to make that decision. So I love that you did make that decision for yourself. So it sounds like it was like mid-year, you realized like, this is it. This is a year for me. You made it the rest of that school year and then left at the end of the year, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I knew like it felt like a good ending point to have. But I did not have any sort of plan by the time I handed in my resignation. Like I just knew I wanted a different job, try something new, but I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. Yeah.
And that's also scary to like go into a summer being like, well, I don't know what it is, but I know it's not this.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. So I recognize some people here today are like on summer break and maybe have that timeline in their head. So can you kind of walk through what it felt like to be in July when you didn't have a job, you didn't really know what you were going to do? Like, what did you do? What went through your head and what helped you get to that next step?
Yeah. So during the summer, I kind of explored all jobs that were open in my area, just kind of trying to find something that I thought would be a good fit for me. So I was looking at like literally everything. And I had like such a wide net of like, maybe that would be good. And I was applying to tons of different things and hearing nothing back. Or I would the only things I'd hear back from were not going to pay my bills. So by the end of summer, I was starting to feel the clock tick on my like time that I allowed myself. I had a conversation with my partner too, and like, okay, I'm starting to have to get serious about this. I knew since I have a son, we have to pay for his daycare too. So I had a certain amount of time that it was like kind of do or die with figuring it out. So in August, that was when I found the academy and went through the program too. And changed my entire approach for what I was doing. And I didn't really think about learning and development as an option before, and then found that it completely aligned to what I was already very skilled at doing as a teacher. And I find that every day. Like I have exactly the training I need to do this from my years in the classroom. So it's great.
Love that. And Sonia, I'm seeing your comment in here of like, I left, but I have nothing else, and I don't know what to do except teach. Like, I'm so glad you're on this one, because Samantha, you kind of felt the same of like, I love this, and I just didn't know that this was a career option for me. So Sonia, I hope that tonight will give you some clarity on some options in this field, because this is such a great path for teachers. So
it's everything I loved about teaching, besides for getting to work with children, but it's all the other parts that I loved without any of the parts I hated. So it's exactly the perfect thing.
If I keep scrolling up through this chat, I remember someone saying, it's like, I love what I do, but I just can't do like the administrative red tape anymore. And I feel like that is what you get to strip out with learning and development. Like, you're just worried about like, how do I make kids learn effectively? And we're not worrying about all of the other things that come with it. Am I right in saying that?
Yes. So part of my job as a training specialist, I do the orientation programs for all new employees in my organization. So we have about 30 people come through every 2 weeks. And so I'm like the first point of contact for our whole company. And I'm with them for 2 days. I have subject matter experts come in, so I'm not presenting the whole time, but I'm kind of like helping with all those relationships, and, bridging that gap to their new job. So it's really exciting every 2 weeks too, when I get to do orientation. But it's like, every week or kind of period is like the same. I'm not developing new curriculum every morning for myself, or, going back to my previous units and thinking about what I can do better. And I work with a team that can support me too. So it's really great. Yeah.
Awesome. And so I know we've kind of opened up like a whole can of worms between like starting a new job, what is this new job, how'd you use the academy? So can you tell us a little bit more about what your role is? So if someone's like, what is learning development and what do you do in your role? How would you answer that to them?
Yeah. So in my team, which is the learning development team, we have a few different folks and job roles, which if you're interested in learning and development, there's a lot of different kind of avenues you can take. We have people who are learning and development specialists who do a lot of organization of trainings. They keep track of training schedules in our learning management system. So if you've, used Canvas or Blackboard at your schools before, we have a, similar version just for workplace. And, lots of like, just that organization stuff. So if you've managed a grade book or, talked to parents and admin about things, you could do this job. There's a little bit of facilitating trainings in there. And then my role really is that like facilitating trainings all the time. So I do other trainings besides for orientations, but we work with all different departments and divisions and help them do training for their employees. So whatever needs come up, we help support the organization. We also have curriculum developers, curriculum designers who, design the curriculum, whether that be e-learning or PowerPoints, for other folks to, facilitate the training. So I'm not having to create all my trainings that I do. I'm really like thinking about how to make a good experience for people and being that kind of day-to-day, the person in front of the group. But I don't have to do all of the development, which is great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Teacher Career Transition Academy. Our academy provides expert career coaching, professional resume and cover letter templates, small group coaching sessions, and a supportive peer network. The best way to jumpstart your career change journey is to enroll in my free Beyond the Classroom Masterclass. Visit teachercareertransitionacademy.com/masterclass to enroll now. I'll also drop the link to register for free in the show notes of this episode. This free masterclass is sure to kickstart your journey or give you the boost you need to move the needle if you're already in the career change process. Enroll for free at teachercareertransitionacademy.com/masterclass.
And I do know for people who are interested in curriculum development or curriculum writing, if you are a member, absolutely check out the academy, because we have done some webinars with people in those exact roles. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about those fields, check out those past webinars that you can watch recordings of in the Academy. Because I know what I have learned in doing these, there's so many caveats to learning and development that are all such great fields for teachers. So I love hearing about yours. I feel like I've heard a lot about like the people writing it, but not people who are like facilitating all of it, which is a really interesting role in all of this.
Yeah, it was great because I've started to learn some of the curriculum design tools that are used in corporate curriculum design. But I didn't need to know that to do my job. And it's really just using my teaching skills. So it's been great.
Totally. And I think that is one thing that's so great about learning and development is even though that we may not have the exact skill set that they are looking for in terms of like the day-to-day job, we don't have the exact responsibilities that they have. We do have the skill set as teachers. There are so many transferable skills.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one thing that the Academy really helped you realize. So can you talk about how the Academy really shaped how you were looking at jobs and then how you decided to market yourself for those jobs? And then before you say that, I do just want to throw out there, I know there have been so many questions in the chat. So I promise if your question has not been answered yet, I have written it down and I promise it will be weaved in at some point tonight. So if it hasn't been answered yet, hang in there. So Samantha, let me turn it back over to you, but wanted to make sure everyone knew, don't worry, we got you. And I love all the questions coming in. Keep them going.
So in a really like similar thing as this, like some videos I determined through the materials as well, that this was exactly the fit for me for learning and development. That was what I wanted to go for. But the most helpful thing that I found was the marketing materials information. That was really transformative for me to create my resume. I used the bullet points that the Academy had because I really was, using those to help me translate what I did as a teacher, not just like teaching students or, leading a class, but all of the extra stuff, because that's really like exactly what is hard to translate. And teachers work so hard. So there is so many extra things that, you might have that you can include on your resume. Whereas like for another teaching job, that might seem kind of not like what you would put. So all of the things I did in my PLC, PD that I led, like that showed experience working and teaching adults and developing training for adults. Those were, really great to think through. And then also my cover letter, I, really didn't know where to start when it came for that. And I really because I had no idea what I was doing and I was feeling very desperate when I went through the Academy. I followed all of their advice literally so closely. And once I had kind of like a template for my learning and development resume, I put things on LinkedIn, and that's where I ended up getting recruited for my current job. So I had a recruiter reach out to me, and that was fantastic doing that. Like just streamlined the whole process for me too. Yeah,
totally. So big highlight, LinkedIn. If you're not on it, you got to be on it. I know that some people are like, oh, I don't want to. In the corporate world, like if you're getting a non-teaching job, people like you need a LinkedIn. And I love Samantha said, I got recruited from there once I got my materials all set and up. So it is a really, really great place to both find jobs and be found for jobs. So yes, Nikki, the recruiter they reached out via LinkedIn, right, Samantha?
Yeah. I got a message that was like one day at 8 a.m. She was like, I think you'd be great for this job. And it was like literally exactly what I was looking for, except for it was a temporary position. So I was like, I'm not sure exactly how that will work. It felt a little scary. But she's like, do you want to hop on a call with me this afternoon? So we did like a Zoom interview, like very fast. And literally by that evening, I had an interview with my supervisor for the following Monday. So, that was great because I was like, wow, this worked, putting it on there. And after I had kind of honed all my resume and all my materials, like that was exactly, what I needed to do. So that was great. And the temporary position turned into a full-time position within a few months. So it was great. And it really showed me too, that was the job I wanted. It was great. It was a good way to just get into a position at my organization.
And I have heard this a lot for this field in learning and development specifically, that it tends to start with either like part-time or contract or temporary. So would you say that people shouldn't be scared of those types of roles if they still can fit their lifestyle for this field? It seems like
Yeah, the only difference was just a little bit of difference in the compensation, like as far as benefits, but it turned into that full-time job really fast. And it was great. And I work at a really big organization. So we've had people, lots of people coming in and out. We kind of have a core team who's been here for a little while, but I think it's definitely, um, feasible, like to think that that is a possibility. Yeah. It's not like just like some miracle that's going to happen that's turned into a full-time job. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, what's important for people to realize is, I remember Lisa telling me actually about a study once that women especially are like way less likely to apply to jobs that they don't feel like they are a direct fit for. And that's why I want to point out that some of these jobs are not going to be like right off the bat, like full time, but from all of the webinars I've hosted, they all started in something either temporary or part-time, that every single one of them transitioned into a full-time role. So definitely don't be scared of those. And then I love what you were also bringing up about the transferable skills, because you're so right. Like, yes, we may not have been doing this exact line item, but when you look at everything you did as a day-to-day in a teacher, it's all the same things that the corporate world is asking you to do. It's just in a different setting.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you pointed out, or you were talking like the bullet point document that we have for resume bullet points, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. So current members, in that section for resumes, there is a document. It's 202 resume bullet points for career transitioning teachers. And what it does is it takes your transferable skills and says, if you're trying to apply to this type of job, here's like 10 bullet points that you can use to describe what you did as a teacher in language that's going to transfer over to that job. So yes, Jackie, just looking at it, love it. Highly recommend that if you're a member. And remember, if you're not a member, I promise we're going to get you all the information on that at the end, because there's so many other good resources in there. All right. So Samantha, I'm going to try to chunk through some of the questions that we've gotten, try to weave them in here. So someone actually asked a question that I thought was great. When you were leaving the classroom and trying to get a job in this field, what did you put for like your LinkedIn header or job titles to make yourself like more attractive to recruiters?
Yeah. So I really went with like the desired role. Like I'm putting in, I think if you even go to my LinkedIn today, it says like training specialist, educator, group facilitator, communication skills. Like I had like that kind of list with separated by brackets. And then I have like the most professional picture that I could find, like cropped down from a nice family photo session. But it looked, I was like, this is good enough. And it turned out pretty nice. So I think like having that, like your desired job role, like that wasn't something that I would have thought of before. But I have that like on my LinkedIn and my resume. And then I did do the like open to work on LinkedIn and put those job roles that I was interested in, to get notifications. And I'm sure that helped as well for, getting reached out to by a recruiter.
Samantha, do you mind if I share your LinkedIn if people want to connect with you or like look
totally
at your
fine. Perfect. I'm getting into it now. I never had one as a teacher, so yeah, I'm happy to chat too.
Yes, absolutely. And I will eventually drop mine in there as well. Yeah. I'm always open. So for people who are new to LinkedIn, it's all about your connections. Connect with anyone that you can. Like that is how you build your network. That's how you then get referred to other people. Say, oh, you know this person and they know them. Like it is absolutely what you want to do. Like make as many connections as you can. So I dropped Samantha's in there. I'll get mine in there in a moment too. So feel free to send us any connections, look at ours, chat us, whatever you'd like to do.
And networking was definitely not like, it made me so nervous. And when I first made my LinkedIn, right before I got my job, I probably had like 20 connections. So don't be afraid if you're like, there's people on here who have so many, it's a helpful tool.
Yes. Definitely don't compare it to something like, oh, they have more followers, like totally fine. Like people really aren't looking at that. They're just looking at who the connections are, not like the number that you have. So yes, absolutely. And then Nira, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but Lisa, I will have you respond if there's like a place you can put it. But in general, your LinkedIn is going to operate as more of like a spicier resume. Like you can add more details in there. You can have more information. You can outline things that maybe you didn't have space for in your resume. So if I were you, I would even think about your entire LinkedIn as a resume and not just like, yes, there may be a place to like upload a specific document. But when recruiters are coming and looking at your profile, they're looking at everything that you've put on there and not just like attachments that you've uploaded. So I would definitely try to treat them in like one and the same.
It's kind of like a polished up, like fun version of your resume on like a profile. My bullet points under my job is like exactly what my actual resume says. So it's really similar to what I have when I was sending out my resumes and my materials. Yeah.
I thought I also I definitely kept my bullet points the same, but sometimes if there was ones that I was like, I just don't have space for it, I made sure it was on my LinkedIn. It's just like having another spot that someone could read it in.
Yes.
And then Jackie, that's a great question. Should you connect to people you don't know? Yes, I do it literally all the time because it's great to even follow people in the field that you are interested in. So it is not at all strange to just send someone a random request. This is not like a Facebook when you get like a rando out there in some other country that you're like, who is that? Like people genuinely, like you can send a message. A lot of the time people message me and like, I saw that we're both in the field and I like the content that you post. So I would love to connect with you. And like, that's all it is. Like, it doesn't turn into anything else from there. So yes, definitely connect with anyone, even if you don't know them. That will absolutely help you out in the LinkedIn realm. Like I said, it is a necessary evil if you're not a social media person in the corporate world. So hate to be the bearer of bad news if you're like, I don't want to be on LinkedIn, but unfortunately you gotta be.
Well, friends, that concludes part 1 of this teacher career transition story. But there's a lot more valuable information coming your way in part 2 that you don't want to miss. So check out our channel for part 2. And remember, friends, the journey is just the beginning. Embrace the adventure.